Brethren, I pray you sing a new song. Sing praise in the assembly of the righteous. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let the high praise of God be on the mouths of the saints and a two-edged sword in their hands to execute vengeance on the demonic nations and punishments on those peoples, to bind their kings with chains. Dishonor have all his saints. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Sing to him a new song.
Shalom, shalom. Brother Azarala.
Brother Haran.
Brother Gabar.
We're the sons of Jacob. First and foremost, I'd like to give glory to Yahweh, Bahashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shah. And today's topic is going to be about love. So this is a very serious topic in Israel and in the world. People claim that they love their brother or their sister, but they really don't love them. So the first scripture, can I get Matthew 22 and 37?
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love thy Lord, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
Keep reading the 38.
This is the first and great commandment.
So that was the first and great commandment, that we love him with all our soul and with all our might. So people walk around here talking about they love Jesus, they love God, but don't really read the scriptures or read the Bible. They claim they go to church Sundays, listen to the pastor preach, start sweating, and then eat some chicken after the service, and then go back to smoking weed, doing all that. They don't really love him. So can I get Deuteronomy 6 and 5? Actually, scratch that. Can you get Psalms 97 and 10? And can you get Deuteronomy, what was it, 6 and 5?
Which one you want first?
Give me the Psalms.
This is Psalms chapter 97, verse 10. Ye that love the Lord hate evil. He preserveth the souls of his saints. He delivereth them out of the hand of the wicked.
So if you love the Lord, you hate evil. So we already know the evil things of this world, smoking, drinking, partying, fornication, all that stuff. If you really love the Lord, you will depart from that. So all the people that's going around here claiming that they love the Lord, but still in that type of lifestyle, basically are hypocrites. They're liars. And we already know what the Lord said about liars. That's the commandment. Thou shalt not lie to one another. And you're breaking the commandment once you do that. So can you give me the Deuteronomy?
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 5. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. So
that's just another scripture bringing out how you should love the Lord with all your mind, with all your soul. I'm just getting more precepts to back up what love really is. So hold on, can somebody give me John 14:15 and 1 John 5 and 3? It don't matter who get it.
I got 14, 15.
Which one you go first?
It don't matter.
So this is the book of John, chapter 14, verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments.
That's another one that we bring out a lot of time when we teaching, or just when we just having talks. If you love him, you will keep his commandments. And we already know, some of Israel know what the commandments are, but we here for the edify Israel as a whole. So the Israelites that they don't know they're Israelites can see what love truly is. It's an action word. It's not just I walk in the house and you tell your wife or your brothers I love you, and then you talk about, hey bro, let's go hit this lick on one of the other brothers. Let's go smoke this weed. Let's go drink. You know what I'm saying? That's not really showing that you love them. So can you get that scripture for me, bro?
1 John.
Yeah, 1 John. What was it? 5 and 3. Yeah.
This is 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
Hey, the commandments never gonna fail us. If we keep them, we already know that we got a chance, Lord willing, of getting to the kingdom. So we're not sitting up here and saying, if you keep the commandments, you automatically saved, because we know that's not the case. We don't know who is saved already. But he's the only one that already know who's going to be saved. So with that,
Slide. Let me get precept.
All right, while he getting that, can you get Proverbs 27 for me?
This is 2 John, verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that as ye have heard from the beginning, you should walk in. And I brought this out because a lot of Christians would like to tell you that there's only 2 commandments, the ones that Jesus came with. And that's not true, because we see right here that it says from the beginning. It's not talking about just 2 commandments. Those are the greatest commandments, but they're not the only commandments.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So this is the book of 1 John, chapter 2, verse 5. But whoso keepeth the word, it's like it. I'm gonna read it from the top. 1 John chapter 2, verse 5. But whoso keepeth his word, and we know his word is these commandments, these laws, statutes, and commandments. In him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. So it's self-explanatory. If you keep these commandments, verily is the love of God in you perfected.
Oh, God, that's the scripture. That's good scripture. Hold on.
So Proverbs 27 and 5.
Yeah. And then can you get Ephesians?
So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 27 and verse 5. Open rebuke is better than secret love.
So that's a lot of things. So that's a major topic in Israel today, and more what I'll take blame for this. I will go down Facebook or see some people, Israel in public, and you gotta be able to open rebuke them. So you got to be able to get the scripture, and I have been working on that, seeing when people go off, seeing when they're not supposed to be doing, about to go commit fornication or about to go eat abominable foods or go do this and that. I try to get the scripture, but Israel is real hard-headed with it, and they'll listen, they'll pretend like they listen and still go do it anyway. Spirit-headed, I think that's what the word they use, or something to that effect. But I try to open rebuke them better than, secretly loving them. Because if you really love them, you'll be like, hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. Here's Deuteronomy, here's Ephesians, all this stuff to stop them from doing it. So you got that Ephesians 5:25 for me, brother.
This is Ephesians 5, it's like it is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
So husbands, you gotta love your wives. So mental abuse, physical abuse, you can't be doing all that, because as it said, can you reread that? I'm sorry.
Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church, and he gave himself for it.
So Christ loved the church, and we know when he loves something, he deeply loves it, and he don't change. So husband, if you love your wives, you're not going to put them through physical abuse, mental abuse. You're not going to kick them out the house when you get angry. You're not going to punch them or, all these different things if you truly love your wife. And I see Israel today, some brothers that hit their women or mentally abuse them, they'll tell me about it, and I'm looking like, that's not what we need to be doing as a whole. If we want to hurry up and get out of this captivity, we got to all come together, and we got to come back to these commandments. You looking for a precept, brother?
Well, yeah, I am, but I can't find it. What I'm looking for.
All right. Can somebody go to Matthew 10 and 37?
So, I did find a precept. So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 8, verse 17. It says, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Right? So you keeping these commandments, he's going to show you that he loves you by being that butler for you, being that shield of protection for you, bringing you blessings and stuff like that. Because we know if you're not keeping these commandments, you're going to be cursed.
Can you give me you 19 and 19? But you can read that.
you started, I forgot.
Matthew. Hold on. Go to Matthew 10 and 37.
10 and 37, kind of here.
Alright.
This is Matthew chapter 10, verse 37. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
So we know if you put your mother or your sister or your brother or your aunt or your uncle or your grandma above the Most High, hey, that he's saying like you don't really love them if you do that. So it was an instance with me. My mom got very angry with me because I didn't tell her happy birthday. And we already know Israel, and for those who don't know, you're not supposed to wish anybody happy birthday or celebrate birthdays. Because the Greeks used to do it, and it symbolized stuff, idolizing, I believe that's what it is, or idol worship, and that's something we're not supposed to be doing. But she got very mad at me, and she accused me of twisting scriptures and all these things. And I'm telling her, I love the Most High more than I love you. That's why I didn't tell you happy birthday or going out on the Sabbath when you asked me what am I doing on the Sabbath, you know, all this stuff. So, right, you shouldn't want to put your family above the Most High, because then if you are in the truth, that can throw you out the truth. And that's also putting your trust into a woman or putting your trust into a man over the Most High. So you got that Matthew 19 and 19?
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 19. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So we already know that you should honor your father or your mother. You should be respectful. But at the same time, like the last scripture, you shouldn't want to put them above the Most High. But at the same time, you also need to honor your father and thy mother. And what about it say about the neighbor?
And thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So we already know that you should love your neighbor. So brother to my left and brother to my right, I say I truly love them because I don't go and talk bad about them. I don't suggest we go do all these other things on the Sabbath or smoke and drink, you know, all these things, fornication. If you truly love your neighbor, your brother, and your sister like you love yourself or in a manner, then you shouldn't want to go do all these other things. That's not Bible prophecy.
It's lucky, and what they say in the world, treat others how you want to be treated.
So I'm not gonna beat on myself. I'm not gonna shoot myself. It's still news on in Chicago and in various other states of black men shooting other black men in gangs. That's not even, gangs were supposed to help bring people together, not having each other shoot at each other, you know, fighting each other. And half of the time when they shooting, they don't know how to aim, and it's hitting one of the little babies crossing the street or in the house or something. So they taking innocent lives because they got problems with their self. You got a precept or something? But so 1 second. Give me Matthew 22 and 39.
I get that.
And then can somebody give me Leviticus 19 and 18?
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So a precept to what we just brought out. You should love your neighbor like you love yourself. You're not gonna kill yourself. You're not gonna beat yourself. You're not gonna cause yourself to go through mental abuse, be sick, be hungry, you know, all these other things. So you should want to love your neighbor like you love yourself. You wouldn't walk around dirty. You wouldn't walk around with your clothes that's dirty or something. So that's why you should always want to help your neighbor. If he needs something and you got it, you should want to give it to him. Because that's being a good heart, and that's loving the Most High, like we brought out the recent scriptures. If you love your neighbor, you're going to love yourself. You got that though?
Leviticus, what was it?
19 and 18.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse what?
Verse 18.
So like this is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
So you shouldn't want to hold no grudge. If your brother do something that you don't like, if he cuss you out, if he drive your car around the store, if he sleep in your bed, if he do all these other things, you shouldn't want to hold on to that grudge for months and days, and then when another altercation happened, be like, yeah, and I didn't forget how you did this and that, boom, 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 boom. That's holding a grudge against somebody.
It's like I'm gonna read up one more verse again. So this is the book of Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not venge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
So, like it said, you should want to rebuke your neighbor, like we brought out open rebuke in Proverbs. Open rebuke is better than secret love. You should want to rebuke your neighbor instead of holding a grudge against them. It was many things that brothers in camp or brothers that I know had done something to me that I really didn't like, but I didn't keep a grudge. Yeah, it was maybe 5 minutes where I didn't like it, but after that, I shook it off and I went back to normal. Because you shouldn't want to hold that. That's going against scripture if you hold a grudge against somebody.
Shalaki, I want to make a point on that. And whenever you stay mad at somebody and you wake up being mad at somebody, then that turns into holding a grudge, which is another sin. So I got this. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 4, verse 4. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Meaning, like, let's just say you do have a bad day and you angry with other people and things like that. You want to examine yourself, go in your room, figure out how you can prevent those things from happening. And before you go to bed, you want to let all that anger, malice, whatever you're dealing with, go before you wake up. You don't want to hold that grudge.
That's a good point. And yeah, that's what also a lot of Israel struggle with today too. Holding grudges against your brother, fighting somebody that was cool with that person, and then now they mad at you or holding a grudge against you because you fought their homie, and it was probably over some petty that really did need to be resolved in fighting, and now you got more enemies because you fought him, and now he's holding a grudge against you, and that's not the right thing to do. So, you getting the precept?
Yeah.
You didn't want to. Sorry, Israel. Can you go to? I guess you can go to Exodus 20, and you can just give me the commandments 20 and 13. Sorry, 13. Let me do it later. Let me get that while
Can you read it now?
Yeah.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 13. Thou shalt not kill.
Yes, so that's really simple. If you love your neighbor or you love your wife, you shouldn't want to think about killing them, and you shouldn't want to physically kill them. Now we go to 14.
Verse 14, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Right, so that's a big one in Israel. Israelites that they don't know they're Israelites, so-called blacks, they'll brag about it. They'll go to like one of their homies' girl's house when he's locked up or something, or when he's gone, and have sex with his wife. And that's honestly that's like probably the worst thing in Israel right now.
And they also indoctrinate you with that through music.
All
through music, they tell you how he having sex with the next man, woman, things like that. It's just phony.
Yeah, it's been people that came to me and was like, yeah, I hit so and so, you know who that is? And I'm like, ain't that what's the name girl? And I was like, yeah, but he don't know. Things of that nature, and that's a real big one because that's breaking a commandment. And then when you try to tell him they act like they listen, but see deep down they're like, I ain't really worried about it.
So Lakia, the women are just as guilty as the men, because you know that you have a man, and you choose to do that.
It's all over lust, basically, at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just the lust of the flesh. That's another sin.
Now can you go to 15?
Exodus chapter 20, verse 15. Thou shalt not steal.
So if you really love your brother, you're not gonna steal from your brother. And that's a big one too, cause a lot of people will go steal their brother's cars, steal their PlayStation, steal their Xbox, all these materialistic things. You know how dumb it is. You going to go steal a materialistic item that you're not gonna have when you leave this earth, if you make it, Lord willing. That's the dumbest thing ever. You risking salvation to steal an Xbox.
And this is the main reason why people go steal other people's belongings, because they like to covet, which is a sin. Now this is the book of Exodus chapter 20, verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Now the word covet means to yearn or desire what somebody else has. It says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. So you're not supposed to be coveting or desiring what another man got.
That's a good point.
I get this precept out. This is Galatians 5:19. Now these are the works of Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness,
Lasciviousness. I can't
yeah.
say. I know what you're talking about.
Lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like of thee, which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom. Now, let me read this. Verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And everything that I read that are the works of the flesh are contrary to the law. That's just contrary to the law, and at the end of it, it tells you they won't inherit the kingdom. And now the works of the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, and so on and so forth. That's all a part of the law.
That's going back to Romans chapter 8, verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
That's a good point. Can you get 16? Exodus 20 and 16? And then can you get Leviticus, 19 and 11?
So this is the book of Exodus chapter 20, verse 16. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
So it's another big topic. You see somebody, seeing somebody do something and saying that they did it is a different thing. Now, if you assume somebody did something like, you got that watch? That's a nice watch. Where you get it from? You don't look like a type of person that had that. Yeah. Hey, he stole that watch. He stole it. That's bearing false witness. You don't know how he got it, but you assume that he stole it. You assume that he killed somebody for it. You know what I'm saying?
Making a false report.
Yeah, making a false report over something. That's really all bearing false witness is. And I seen it. That's Bible prophecy, because it's all in the schools. That's how most fights happen. I witnessed it firsthand at school. A girl come up to somebody like, "Oh, you mess with my man. You text him. Why are you in his DMs?" I heard that's the big word. Yeah. I heard.
And that's going on. That's that he say she say stuff.
Yeah. It's I heard you did this. I heard you did that, and then they start fighting over a simple "I heard." And the person that told her that gossip about it is standing in the background laughing and recording y'all fighting.
And that's also going into being backbiting. Because when you're backbiting, you talk behind somebody else's back. That's another sin. Going into gossiping. We know women love to gossip, and that's mainly what the fights you see in school is females fighting over nothing really.
Nothing. And so do males too. They fight over nothing and the same thing. You got the Leviticus. Yeah.
This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 11. You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another.
So, we already know that you shouldn't want to lie to your neighbor in the first place, and even lying about little petty stuff like, I went over to what's the name house. Yeah, we kissed. No, I'm just playing. Nah, we really do that. You know, stuff like that. That's still at the end of the day, that's still lying. So you shouldn't want to do that to your brother. If it's a serious matter and your brother asking, bro, did you really do that? Like, come on, I just really want to know. And you sit there bold-faced lie. No, I didn't really do that, brother. I'm sorry. Damn, that's crazy, brother. You know, you sitting there just blatantly just lying to his face. And some brothers, they don't feel it, but I know when I slip up, the spirit be on me like, just tell the truth, you know what I'm saying? So, that's all, that's really it for today's lesson. We are the sons of Jacob. And lastly, I would like to give glory to Yahweh, Bahashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shah. Shalom, Israel.